Good evening, workshoppers, and thank you for joining us here tonight on episode 75 of the Westmarch Workshop, Diablo in December. But first, a musical interlude.
Yeah, you already know what time it is. Leviathan back with another crusade. You ready to get into it? Let's get it. Yeah. Running around in a whole set. Haven't mastered no dungeon yet. All ancients and all slots. Did a legit man with no bots. Crusader straight out of Westmarch. Crusade called, now I'm gone. John they're blocking my whole path. Killed him. Sad song, stash space, yeah that's my place. Season journey just to get laced. Greater rifts, now I'm getting rich. Empowered ones, that's a different sitch. Old gear got dust on it. Sad scoring got rust on it. New gear, augments on it. Catching gems, I got 70s on it. Gold sync with empowered rifts. Take my gold, but I'm too rich. Gilded beards, I'm lucky. Empowered grips off of one riff. My account might just get suspended for all these hours already. Red Bull and coffee got plenty. That sleep is weak, man, we winning. Me and 9 Ball for real though. We sinking seasons like free throws. Could be a DH or Barbo. It's calculated, it's auto. So place your bets up for season 5. Cause this party is crazy live. Hardcore striving just to survive. Just bring wrath in those fans of knives. Yeah.
And we're back. Hello, everybody.
All right.
It's good to be back and not have to do my own intro.
Just a gift from me to you in the season of giving.
Yeah, I like the part about the scorn, how the mighty have fallen.
I had to, a little history lesson thrown in there just to remember like they say, you have to know where you've been to know where you're going. And
Exactly.
this is that time of the year where, it's Giannis. You're looking back and forward. The door is both facing that way and that way. So you
hmm
gotta, you just gotta know. You gotta know when to fold. Oh, that was a different one. Sorry.
This is the time of year when you look back on things and you look to new beginnings, but you're of course thankful for the things that have come before.
Aren't you thankful?
Aren't you thankful? We'll see what we
Oh,
did there. We'll find a
always.
it will always into the east or something. I don't know. We'll find a way of working that into every episode. Guarantee that.
Just like life.
Yes, so here we are. I do want to thank everybody for continuing to go and tune in, and we deeply apologize for the last 2 weeks that we missed. Um, it's on we are both at fault on this one. The first episode that we missed, Leviathan was feeling ill, and then the second episode that we missed, things just went like absolutely crazy at work for me, and I could not make it last week, so we're both equally to blame on this
Yes.
one. So again, we are definitely definitely sorry, very sorry,
So sorry.
oh so sorry. But with that, how has been your past almost a month in gaming, good sir?
Jeez, when you put it like that, now I feel really sorry.
Got a lot to talk about now.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, it hasn't been much in the way of gaming though, to be honest, because again, like you mentioned, I was sick for an extended period of time. When we had the episode, I had literally just gotten sick that Tuesday. So then Wednesday was like when it fully hit me, and then continued for about another week or so. And even when you called me up, just before we started here, I was blowing my nose and whatnot. So I still have a little bit of the remnants, which means more rest, less fun stuff, less gaming, less movies, all that good stuff. Well, there's never any movies anyway, so let's be real.
We all knew that one.
But I have done a little bit of play. For the most part, I was on the PTR and testing out some of the hot fix changes that were coming in here and there. They buffed up the six-piece bonus on the Seeker of the Light, the Blessed Hammer set for Crusaders.
hmm
So I was trying to see what I could do with that, see if the damage buff was pretty noticeable or significant enough to push us forward. And I wasn't quite able to get the build together that I wanted. Like I wanted to wear um, Is that what I want to do? I think I wanted to wear the hammer jammers with the new power that they have on them, and then try and like do some things with the different belts, or I don't know. I was trying to mess around with a bunch of stuff, but couldn't quite get all the pieces together. But it seemed okay. It seemed better than it was, obviously, with more damage.
Hmm.
And then I actually went back to the live server because I was kind of like, all right, I think I've seen what I need to see for Crusader. Went back to live, and man, just missing all those quality of life changes, like seeing those huge numbers again, and they're all just the same color. The death's breaths are in yellow, so they're not popping as much. I don't know, like 2.4 is going to be awesome just from the perspective of being able to try it in PTR, then go back to live, and then when it becomes real, you're like, oh yes, I remember all these things I missed.
Hmm. All these things I didn't have that I missed so much.
Exactly, exactly, man. So it's I was playing the monk as well too, and so that was weird because I'd forgotten completely how to play the monk since it's never been one of my main classes except way back in vanilla, right before they released the shared Paragon and all that stuff. I was
Hmm.
doing, I had a bard that was Paragon 100, and then I wanted to get a monk that's Paragon 100, so that when it all combined, kind of have a leg up. But I hadn't really played a monk seriously since then, and back then that was like bell spam all day pretty much. So this
Hmm.
was it was a weird reawakening if you will. See what I did there?
I see what you did there. It's almost as if you're referencing something in pop culture at the moment.
I might have.
Might have just done that.
But that's
But
about it, man. I feel like I'm just in that waiting period. It's that hard time of you've tried it, you're really excited for it, and it being the next patch, and then you only want to play it so much so you don't burn yourself on it. Then you go
mhm.
back, but now that you've tried it, you are kind of you're remiss to go back and get reused to the old stuff, or I don't know, it just doesn't feel the same when you go back.
Yeah, that's always a problem that I've had with any type of like big testing, both on PTR and just from other games, betas and such. That's just um, it's difficult because it's like you kind of get used to it, and then you're like, no, 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 I gotta stop, otherwise I'm not gonna be able to play, the non-PTR until the PTR becomes live, because it's just gonna get, it's like where are these changes? Like you were mentioning the Death's Breaths thing is just. I remember after playing on the PTR for a little bit, then going back, I just probably walked through like two greater rifts, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I got like or not greater rifts, just regular rifts. And I'm just thinking, I got like three death's breaths. It's like they're just not dropping. Oh wait, that's why they're not dropping.
Yep.
Uh,
Weird times, man.
yeah,
But you're
definitely.
you're already starting to talk about it. So how's your weeks in gaming? How've they
My
been?
yeah, my weeks in gaming probably could be described as a week in gaming or maybe a day in gaming and such. Things have just been absolutely crazy for me. Like I mentioned, we had to cancel last week's episode, just because work is getting stepped up there. But I have been putting a little bit more focus. Like today, I actually was kind of surprised, and I got a second day off for this week, so I only had to work 5 days. Amazing. Just so that way we could all get a little bit of rest and relaxation before this movie called like Star Wars or something like that comes out on Thursday, and then everything just gets insane.
I think it's War of the Stars. You might have gotten that
War of
wrong.
the Stars, yeah, or maybe it wasn't Star Wars. It was like Star Trek or Galaxy Quest or something like that. Spaceballs, the quest for more money. I don't know, something like that. But
One of those.
yeah, I have like I mentioned, I've really not been touching the PTR at all, but I have been going back onto live, and one of the things I've been doing in the limited time that I've had to play in the past couple weeks is work on getting. I finally finished the Conqueror step in the seasonal journey, and so now all I have left is Guardian, where I only need to do I believe it's the tier 10 run in 2 minutes and the level 60 solo clear, and then that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I only have, what is that? 14 more days with which to do that, and yeah, it's
Spoilers.
yeah spoilers for the future news segments, but I guess that would be a segue.
Oh,
Transition? Uh,
transition.
transition into the actual news topics of that we just found out the other day. Season 4 is ending soon, very soon, in fact.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
What'd you say? You said 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks from
Yeah.
today.
2 weeks, yeah, we're going through, and Wednesday, December 30th at 5 p.m. Pacific, season four will be coming to a close. Just as, shouldn't be a shock to anybody, as we found out at BlizzCon, of course, that season four would be ending by the end of December.
And that's pretty much as close as you can get.
Mm-hmm. That is in fact almost as close as you can get to the end of December.
Yep.
That's just a factual statement right there.
I'm surprised though that they went to that route because it's ending on a Wednesday, which is kind of weird. It's the middle of a week. Past seasons have kind of ended on Sundays, it seems. So I wonder if it was just they really wanted to give us as long as they could in December, or
Um, I'm sure there's probably that part of it, but then it's like for it to end on like a Sunday or a Monday, that it if it ended on a Sunday, that would be the Sunday of Christmas, like the Christmas
oh,
weekend.
you're right.
And so I'm sure that there's a lot of vacation time and requests and such. And even though the end of a season isn't that big because they're not actually pushing a patch or anything along those lines, it would still be something that people would have to be kind of like all hands on deck if there were any technical issues that happened with the season rollover. So if you
Sure.
go and you put it on that Wednesday, it's like it's a nice, people are back, from Christmas weekend. It's before New Year's Eve, which I'm sure their offices would be closing early if they're open at all.
Right.
And then, it's like just there we go. Good to go. We just got it right in there, right in the middle, end of December. You kids go have fun, be crazy, and then we'll see you in 2 weeks.
There you go. And speaking of see you in 2 weeks, 2 weeks right after the season ends is when season five kicks off.
Mm-hmm.
Just about, anyways. So it usually comes to us on a Friday, and that's standard here as well too. Season five will be kicking off in North America at the very least on Friday, January 15th, 5 p.m. PST.
Yep. This one is actually pretty synced up, so that way, it's just like across the board in North America, Europe, and in Asia. It's basically the season ends December 30th, and the season begins January 15th. You'll just have to check for whatever your local times are. They have it starting at 5 p.m. on one of those kind of like local time zones.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, it's an exciting time. This is like the big one. But then again, we say that every time one of these patches has been coming out.
We really do.
Yeah, and I think we
It's like a
say
broken record.
I know, and we say this about every episode too. It's like this is the biggest patch ever, and we thought the last one was big. Ah,
Seriously. Yeah, I mean it's a good thing to keep. It's a good problem to keep having though, right? Like we they could at any moment just say like, all right, we'll give you a little something, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, now we're going in the opposite direction. It's only like one cool feature. What the heck, man? I'm used to my like six or something. So I don't know. I'm stoked just for. I'm actually stoked for that long of a break. It's gonna be nice to go at your leisure. Maybe knock out some of the set masteries and whatnot during that time, so you don't have to feel like you're cramming them all in during the season if you want to really rush the sweet wings that you'll get.
yeah. And I know there's just like some other things, Lala was going through and mentioning, and a lot of other people they're going to be on like vacation or visiting family or just taking time off. They might not be wanting to go and hop, right into the season right there at the seasonal end at the end of December. So them pushing it back to halfway through January is, I think, pretty well received. People are liking a little bit of a longer break.
Yeah, oh, definitely. It's just a good thing in general to have because even if you're one of those people that are gung ho about playing, you're still gonna play. Like the patch will come out somewhere in between that time. I guess that's another thing to mention too is we don't know exactly when 2.4 will launch between that season four end and season five beginning.
Hmm.
We could probably place a good guesstimate though. I would imagine it'd probably be that Tuesday before, so not the what would that be, the 12th, but the 5th of January potentially.
Yeah, that would make the most sense for them to drop it on the 5th and then give them a week, or two to iron out any of the kinks, and as well as give you almost the 2 weeks there with which to, mess around and play with all the 2.4 stuff. If they dropped it on the 12th, it wouldn't feel. I guess we'd still have that break in between, but then you'd still kind of like be in that rush to let me go and check out all the new stuff in just 3 days before hopping directly into the season.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully it does hit that fifth because you're right. The timing of it, despite it being a 2 week break, still wouldn't quite feel. It wouldn't be like a. I don't want to use the word legit, but I don't know. It wouldn't have the same oomph behind it.
Yeah, I guess it's if they really wanted though to give us the break, it going through you'd log in on, the 30th in the evening and then, reconsolidate all of your stuff from the rollover of the season and then you'd have no reason to play until the 12th.
Yes, there is that side of the camp too, right?
Yeah, it's like there's no new update and you've done everything from the season, so it's just kind of like, there we go. We're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
I suppose we shall see.
We shall see. And going through and speaking of the PTR coming to a close, we did get just recently another patch and update this past week.
That's right. Yeah, it was a 1-2 punch that they really hit us with because we got the news of the season ending, I believe, yesterday, Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys are listening live or if you're hearing this sometime later this week, it was Tuesday earlier in the week, and then I think it was the Monday of this week they popped in to give us that patch update to the PTR. And this one kind of when I was looking through it, I was just like, oh, okay. Like there weren't a bunch of things that really excited me, but it also kind of made me feel like if I'm having this reaction, then we have to be really close to being done with the PTR in terms of like all the testing that's necessary because the changes aren't so wild anymore. Really, like you're seeing a few numbers. Coming down 20%, some going up 30% or whatever. It's like now very incremental changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like when they're getting to that point, it's really just like, okay, now we kind of have an idea of where the ballpark is for most of these sets and skills and whatnot. And now we're just gonna kind of rein them in where we need to, buff them up where we need to a little bit. And this will probably be the last major push on the PTR before it goes down.
Oh yeah, definitely. All the big swinging changes are done. The mechanics changes are pretty much done. Now it's just like you said, it's like the zeroing in, the honing in, of making sure that just like a little tweak here, a little tweak there is at the right level, and then we're good to go.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much like the overall theme of the changes. I don't know if we want to go into too much detail because there is a lot of just number crunching here and there.
Hmm.
Um, but for the most part, it really is just a few percents on some skills, or a few more seconds, a few less seconds, etc. Maybe one of the most major things is that many of the set dungeons got touched, and then overall their difficulty received some changes. So if you've been struggling with some of the set dungeons, especially mastering them, or if you feel like you just haven't given them a shot yet, now is probably the best time to go in and try that, just because most of the numbers for the objectives, like the number of monsters killed, have been tweaked a little bit, and even some of the objectives themselves have been a little fine tuned. So it's probably the most sturdy or set that they've been set dungeons.
Hmm. Yeah, and most of it, like you said, it has kind of been nerfs across the board. Some of them are a little bit like retweaked. Some of them were made, I guess, like tuned up like a little bit.
Whoa, whoa! I did not say the N word. I said the A word. Adjustments.
Adjustments,
Way different.
adjustments.
Way
Okay,
different.
all right, okay, all right. You can't nerf that which does not exist.
Exactly.
Yep, it's still on the PTR, so
Oh, too
therefore it
funny.
cannot be nerfed.
Too funny.
But how can you kill that which has no life? Ah,
There are a couple of undocumented changes, though. Some things that people have been noting. One of the ones I peeped out on, I guess it was the Monday, like right when it went live, was there's a new cursor. There's a new mouse cursor.
yes, I've seen, I have seen the limitation of the new mouse cursor.
The limitation.
Limitation,
Lamentation. Oh,
lamentation.
people don't
Yep.
like it?
Not, no, not what I've been seeing.
Uh-oh. Tell
Yeah.
me, what have the people been saying?
So far it's pretty much just like one of those ones. I think like one of the top threads on our Diablo right now. Diablo cursor, rest in peace. December 31st, 1996 through December 30th, 2015.
Oh, jeez. Wow, they were that attached to the hand, huh?
Pretty much. That's what it looks like. Because Diablo 1, Diablo 2 in the beginning, Diablo 3 is just a little hand, and then now it actually is going to like a mouse cursor.
I mean, wow. All right, yeah. It will lose a little flavor, but you gain a little bit of quality of life being able to track it. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Ah, and here I like Replay's decision. The cursor should have been the seasonal leaf.
Ah, actually wouldn't have been bad.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. And then
Would have
also
stuck
just
out.
like the other thing, being nice, bright and green. That way, that's one thing that I notice like going through and playing. Sometimes, when playing the Witch Doctor, I lose where my mouse is.
Hmm.
It's like it's in the middle of all of this red and explosions and little frost spiders running around and such. I know that mouse cursor's in there somewhere.
Somewhere in there.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of the things that they're doing, obviously, to combat the use of YOLO mouse, which some people do use, and I still do not advocate because it is a third-party add-on to the game, and those are still not prohibited. So use at your own will or caution. But one of the big features of it is that it changes your mouse like bright pink or bright green or some really bright neon color, and that was at least from I was surprised to see the feedback that you've been seeing, but the one that I got tweeted at me a little bit was, oh, it needs to be like able to be changed in color and whatnot. No one was really lamenting the hand at that point.
Yeah, no, definitely need like something done as far as the just the readability of the mouse to be changed. There's a lot of them. I don't notice it too much, like when I'm playing the Demon Hunter and when I was playing the Crusader this past season. I didn't really have that many issues, but it begins to like get harder to see when you're playing in a group, or especially like if there's a lot of enemies on the screen with a witch doctor. I will lose it every time. I just see the walls of fire just popping up underneath certain enemies. So okay, it's in that general area is where my mouse cursor is.
Yeah, more generalities than pinpoint precision.
Mm-hmm. That's at least one thing because I play at least without the mouse acceleration off, so I guess it's one of those little ones of like how you have the computer set up. Like if you don't have acceleration turned on, whenever you move the mouse, the distance you move your mouse is how far the cursor will move every single time, as opposed to like if you have acceleration on and you move it fast, it will actually move further depending upon the speed of your motion. And it's like one of those ones where it's like I don't know how far over my mouse is like in a particular area, and if I need to run away I might not be clicking far enough to actually change the direction that I'm running. I've noticed a couple
Gotcha.
times, so it's
Yeah.
like I don't know, those little things.
Should definitely be a little scary for hardcore.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree with Droth. Acceleration should never be turned on.
I have no opinion. Computer. Hashtag computer things.
Hashtag computer things. Hashtag movie quotes. What are we talking about?
Diablo.
Yeah.
There was also another change that was undocumented, but we knew it was coming because someone had mentioned it somewhere along the way on a Reddit or a Twitter or whatever have you, that the icon to denote whether you had cubed a legendary power or not would be tweaked. And so now it exists as a little like cube that's on its side, kind of like it's almost like diamond shaped, and the in the middle of it is blank if you don't have that power cubed, and if you do, then it's like a golden kind of circle filling in there.
Hmm.
And I think it's better than what we had previously. Some people are still saying it's not quite obvious enough. I don't know if we just need to go to literally like no icon versus an icon versus an icon that's there and then an icon that changes. Because
Hmm.
maybe just nothing versus something is a lot more obvious than something versus a changed something. But I don't know. It's being iterated on, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And let me see. I didn't actually have the image itself loaded up, but yeah, it's one of those ones where it's very very difficult to go through and notice
Hmm.
because you'll have it's like the little star indicator next to the power itself. it just now it's either filled or not filled, and so it's not something that's easy to look at. It probably would be nicer like if it had something um, big, like the ancient border. How we have the ancient border to denote whether it's ancient or not. When just like quickly like looking over it and such. If
Mm-hmm.
maybe it had something, or you even change like the modified or added an icon onto the actual name of the item itself. So you might have, Yang's recurve, and then there's like diamonds at the end of it, or something, or cubes at the end of it, saying, so okay, I have that cubed.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just move it to a more obvious or a place that catches your eye more quickly or something to that degree.
Yep.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess it's better than nothing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that was one of the chief complaints early on this season. At least was it was you kind of just went over to your cube with a mishmash of stuff in your inventory, be like, I don't know if I have this cube or not. I'm just gonna throw it into the thing and try.
Yeah, so now instead of actually having to walk over to the cube and then spend a couple seconds going and throwing everything in there and seeing whether it's cubed or not, now you just have to spend a couple seconds trying to look through the item and find a little star and see whether you have it cubed or not. So it saved you the amount of time of the distance that it takes to walk to the cube. Improvement? Yes?
Yeah.
No?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Well, now you could potentially do it at the blacksmith and just like stare really hard at your screen, and then once you figure it out, just okay, salvage.
Yep. Yep.
But
Just
yeah, hopefully. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, hopefully that's one of the things that maybe right before 2.4 goes live or something, it gets that one final tweak that sweetens the deal.
I mean, even if it was like a color change,
Mm.
where like the that little symbol changed from the orange to green,
Yeah,
or like a blue, or anything. But it's a very difficult read on the UI as it is.
indeed, indeed.
Uh, so yes, one of the other things that just going and talking about like some of the seasonal changes and such, that there was a thread that came across. This one was like 2 weeks ago, so it was going to be right before our first episode since our last one, if it had happened. But someone was going and complaining on our Diablo about uh, he doesn't play seasons that much, and like he ended up getting like trapped because he's going and he's trying to look for like good monk builds, and they basically like one of the things that he had to go through and get was a lion's claw. So he's dumping all these blood shards. He says he went through thousands upon thousands upon thousands of shards until he realized, oh wait, that's a season only item.
Mm,
Yep.
yeah.
And so it's just like, oops, too bad, so sad.
That's a relic. It's one of the last times that that's really going to be able to happen, I guess, at least.
Yeah, with because with the launch of 2.4, there will be no more season-specific items. Now the big reward for playing seasons is, of course, the portraits and the stash tab. But any of the items themselves, I believe we talked about this, earlier, about how now you won't if you don't play seasons, not interested in seasons, you don't have to wait until the end of the season to try out some of the builds that are only possible with those seasonal items. So you can go through and play and have access to everything else that everyone that does play seasons does.
Hmm.
So you're at least not like you don't feel as if you're behind in terms of like your builds and viability.
Yeah, I remember it was even a common problem on PTR too, just because. Well, at least when we started to test seasons on PTRs, because we wouldn't quite know like is that item a seasonal item? Is it not? Is it live on the PTR yet? Is it not? Is the season live on the PTR yet? Is it not? Like there was a lot of murkiness, so people were trying to game it a little bit by not spending their blood shards on slots if they didn't have to, but then you weren't sure like if items were actually in the pool or not yet, or if it was because it could still even be like, oh yeah, it's seasonal items, you can get them now, but then it's a bug and certain ones aren't even dropping anyway, so. I don't know. It'll hopefully at least eliminate some of that as well too. So cleaner across the board. But you do mention the fact that now the draw for seasons is kind of the cosmetic stuff, but also the stash space. And
Hmm.
we have some emails that touch on this later on, but I wonder if they have had any thoughts on moving where that reward comes from for the seasonal stash tab, because some people are still claiming, especially like more casual players, it's too far up the chain for them when they don't have like just enough hours in their
Hmm.
season to play that much to get to that level.
Yeah, and I know it's like I myself am cutting it here close. Like I just made Conqueror today, and just like 2 weeks before the seasonal end. Although of course I've not had that much chance to play too much, probably in the last month and a half or so. Um, so I don't know. It is, it's at a point where you actually have to strive for it, so you do have to go into it. But for those people that don't want to play seasons, I guess it is going to be a lot of time that you have to invest into it. It it is easier if you have like a group, like if you can get a group of friends or clanmates together to go and try and tackle that. It would make it a lot easier because I know there was that it just increases your power creep, by so much when you have that group going, as far as blood shard and item acquisitions, getting the gyms up. That it might not be too bad if you want to like kind of like if you're really gunning for that extra stash space to kind of like get a farm group together to just kind of like head in there, knock out the season, try and get it done as fast as you can. I know you completed like Guardian like within what, 3 weeks?
Pretty, yeah, it was pretty early on. I think it
Hmm.
was at least first month.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those ones where it's like if you have that dedication for it, then of course you can go through and slam it out real fast.
Hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of where it lies. Also, and one of the things I think that we're potentially neglecting to realize is that there's a lot more power coming into this coming season. So players will be able to get, their ancient gear, and then they'll also be able to throw augments on top of that too. So I think cruising through, obviously there have been some adjustments to some of the objectives for the different seasonal journey chapters and tiers beyond the chapters as well. But I don't think it has been modified so much so that it scales perfectly with the amount of power that has come. So
Hmm.
it should be that your journey through the season will be a little bit more accelerated, and therefore you should check off the objectives for those different tiers of the seasonal journey faster than you might in the current season. And therefore, it shouldn't take as long as people may be anticipating because they're thinking about it in terms of what's happening right now versus
Hmm.
the future.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling that I got, just kind of seeing the general power creep of what people have been, able to accomplish as far as like solo grid or rift clears in the PTR right now, and
Hmm.
like the what your steps are to Guardian this time. I think overall, Conqueror will be easier to achieve, and as well as Guardian, but Conqueror will be a lot easier to achieve, I think, next season than it was this time.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm feeling about it as well.
So definitely don't get discouraged. If you're worried about, oh, am I going to be able to hit Conqueror and get my stash tab next time, or I don't really want to play seasons too much. For you, unfortunately, it still is going to require some time and dedication to, in order to go and unlock that for that extra stash space. But I think the journey overall will be easier to get to, especially when you take into account you're going to be getting a free 6-piece set in seasons as well.
Exactly. Like that's one of the things that I think is pretty major for the casual player who possibly has the biggest fight or the biggest uh shoot, what's the argument in
Hmm.
this fight? Being that, their playtime is very limited and they feel as if even if they were to play as much as they possibly could within the amount of hours that they can dedicate, they just wouldn't reach that tier. But like you just pretty much, knocked a big chunk of that argument out the window, in that you're going to be getting so many pieces of gear thrown at you, especially if you're just going to be playing that one class. You're knocking out parts of the seasonal journey in the first place to try and get to that stash tab. Well, by doing that, you're also feeding yourself an entire set. And for most of the classes, it is one of their most powerful sets going into season five. So that should by itself just start to snowball you further along. You'll potentially be doing GRs that you, as a casual player, may have never even reached previously, just because now you're guaranteeing yourself a set, and from there improving upon that.
hmm And it's one that just your general power jumps once you complete that six piece. A lot of your early farming, probably like your first like 100 Paragon levels is trying to get a single six piece together so you can then start hopping in, to Torment 6 and beyond, start getting, greater rifts rolling so you can get gems and leveling them up and such. This kind of like completely negates that because by the time that you get to 70, you'll already have, part of, I mean, like once you hit 70, that's already two piece, regardless of anything else that you've done. And, doing like, I think by the time that you complete your first like Torment 1 Rift, you're pretty much set and good to go. And, then you're just going to be jumping up power levels from there.
Oh yeah. That if you could graph it like what it's looked like in any previous season, it would. God, I tried to do math. The graph would be more crazy than previous, which is a technical term. Don't worry
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, highly technical, highly technical. I even remember that, one of our earlier episodes, much earlier episodes back in season one. It's I'm struggling in like Torment 2. I finally complete my Marauders set, and then I'm in Torment 6. Like this is
Hmm.
easy, you
Hmm.
know.
Yeah, it's definitely
And
gonna be that like ramped up.
yeah, and so that just makes it's more efficient use of your time because the higher difficulty that you're able to farm, the more legendaries, gems, gold, mats that you're going to be able to find, and so your power increases that much faster.
Hmm. Oh, one thing that was changed that came in this latest PTR patch, quality of life change. Now on the face of the gem itself, the legendary gem, you can see what level it is if it's rank one or higher.
Yes.
It's right on the
Um,
icon.
Yep, it makes that very easy, at least for if you have those multiple gems kind of sitting in your stash. I was juggling some gems there for a little bit, switching from the Crusader to the Witch Doctor, and so like I leveled up to Banes of the Trap, and I was just kind of like, well, hold on, wait, which was that the level 52 one, or was this the level 12? And so I was going through and like switching between characters and trying to get them leveled up which one it is that I needed to equip and such. So, yeah, it's a nice quality of life change, especially for the seasonal rollover.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna help make that so much easier.
Yep. So don't bother trying to reorganize your gyms until the patch hits, and then it will save you like an hour's worth of work.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one that definitely had to get in there prior to this season, or I should say prior to this patch in particular, because legendary gems are going to have so much of a higher importance in the level that they are with the Cul de Sans recipe now. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be able to monitor, okay, I'm working on this level 30 gem. Okay, I have a level 51 here. Because you're going to be making some tough decisions on when do you augment, what level do you want your gems to be at before you augment. And then the worst feeling in the world would be grabbing that wrong one that you use your level 70 or whatever gem Bane of the Trap that you want to use on your character. You augment it and now you're only left with like a level 25 one or something. That's a lot of levels to lose by mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely.
definitely a welcome change. Yeah.
Um, let's see. Going through, I think that kind of covers some of the big topics that we've had over the past couple weeks. I know there was one thing that you wanted to go through and talk about.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so I'll go ahead, introduce that real quick, and then give the floor to you to go on. Just go ahead, start getting your soapbox ready there,
All right.
if you
Hold
want
on.
to
Let me
prepare to get that get at that out of the closet.
get the
One
hammer.
Yeah, one of the big things that kind of went through the Diablo community lately was let me see when was the date that this was posted? Just check
A
this real
couple of
quick.
weeks back.
Yeah, this is December 4th, so yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. Quinn made a rant about the itemization in Diablo 3, talking about how all these new items going into 2.4 or some updated items are now coming with huge damage bonuses to certain skills. And he's arguing in this video that that's removing choice, from the player. That in order to actually go through and do a build that uses a particular skill, you are now forced to use the item that has the damage bonus for that. Even though the cube was a nice thing that helped build diversity and such, because it will have like some sort of utility power and then a damage boost on it, you're forced to use that item. You can't cube it. You have to have that item equipped, which is then bringing like the Ring of Royal Grandeur back into relevancy, because it's like, oh, if it's a helm or a shoulder slot, you're kind of screwed in that sense. You have to have your full, 5 pieces of your set. You have to have a Ring of Royal Grandeur either equipped or in the cube, and then you have to have that one off piece that's taking that helm slot or whatever. And he's saying that it's killing a lot of the diversity that happens with items. And I do remember that this is, similar to a rant that you might remember the name Azure, who used to be a
Oh yeah.
regular guest on the Diablo podcast, like way back when, before D3 even came out. That he was constantly saying that the itemization system, like even back then, was just broken because it's all flat damage numbers, and so that way all the power creep in the game is just going to be linear, and that you'd have to just be like, plus X damage on an item in order to make it better than something else, and that a lot of the itemization system like was kind of like the removal of choice, and that this is just flat out better for this, and so you have to use it. I know that, and I will give way to you now with your comments on this little tangent discussion that's been going on in the community lately.
Yeah, no, it's been really cool to see it light a little bit of a fire under everyone. And of course, let me start by saying that I completely respect Quinn as a player. I understand that he approaches the game in a very methodical manner, and is really good about digging into the details of this thing. And he probably knows best some of the interactions and choices that exist in the game. One of the things that I want to contend, though, is that if you believe that you ever had a choice in this game, you have been under a false pretense for quite some time. And one of the major things that people often criticize about myself is that I don't criticize the game enough. And
Hmm.
whether that's true or not, whatever, but this is one of the moments where I actually feel it's a criticism that has existed for quite some time, and maybe I'm not very vocal about it, but I just don't believe that. And I mean, in a way, we kind of talk about it slash around it, but I just don't believe that there's ever actually been a choice. So to be upset that items now exist that limit your choice, they are items that you were going to use anyways. Like when you think about, let's take the Condemned Crusader, for instance. It's a build that's based around the Akon set, so already you're using those 6 or 5 pieces, depending on if you're Ring of Rogue Grandering. Either way, 6 of your items are locked down. Now, you would be a fool to not use Frighter's Wrath or a Blade of Prophecy with that build, because they both do things that prop up the use of Condemn.
Hmm.
And both of their powers make it so that Condemn becomes way more powerful than if you were to just use the base skill. They added damage bonuses to both the Blade of Prophecy and the Shield, to buff up Condemn to just crazy skill damage percents. Now, one might contend that I would rather cube the power for Blade of Prophecy and use I don't know, what's that crazy sword that you like called? Ashbringer.
Hmm.
But let's be real, Ashbringer's not that good, and you wouldn't use it because you would use the best item that you would potentially feel like pushes the build forward the most. If Blade of Prophecy didn't have that power on it, you would be using it 100%. Like there's nothing about it that doesn't make it the best in slot for that build. So when I guess that's my biggest contention to this argument that Quinn presents, is that for the most part, most of the best in slot items are already figured out. So the illusion of choice is really just what kind of utility you want to use inside of your cube. And even in the cube, there are some pretty like clear-cut choices where it's not really multiple avenues that you can travel down. The differences might be whether you're speed farming or if you're doing
Like,
suboptimal GRs.
hmm.
Like if you're pushing the upper echelon, if you're trying to go for rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, there is a very specific set of stuff that you have to do. Like there is no way that you can really say, "Oh, it doesn't work for me because I can't choose this or that." Like there is a 1% of something that's better than something else. So that's what you would use.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that kind of really gets down to it. It's like you are already using a lot of these items, and it's funny because a lot of the things that Quinn talked about in his video were ones that already were just like, you know, things that people already used all the time, in different builds and such. So maybe they cubed it and had something else equipped, or maybe they equipped it and cubed something else. But they're things that are always getting used. Except now it's kind of like it does slightly remove a little bit of your choice because you have to have it equipped and you can't have it cubed.
Hmm.
But it's one of those that's it really is like you were saying. It's like the illusion of choice, more
Yeah.
so than actual choices itself. And I believe, like I just put in chat there, Wyatt's comments, specifically addressing, this video, and that's like what a lot of it comes down to is just like it's an illusion of choice. You'd already be, like you said, you'd already be using, this particular item. And one of the arguments that like Quinn had was, well, why don't you just bake the this damage bonus directly into the skill, remove the damage bonuses from all skills or all items, and just have the like utility powers. And
Hmm.
some of the problems that that would run into is like, well, now you have the skill that gets propped up and damaged, and it affects everything else. So now you might have like some sort of combo with using a set that didn't normally use the skill, but because it got boosted so much, well, it's just flat out better to use that one than what my set is supposed to have, or
Absolutely.
whatever it is that I'm supposed to use.
Yeah, it could actually end up being a hindrance to build diversity because now you're pushing things into builds that it doesn't even belong in. It almost, it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of like how hexing pants were trying to be forced into all these builds where like you're not even always moving. You're just like stutter stepping now to try and circumvent the negative side of that power. It's like it's
Mhm.
not supposed to be there, but you're trying to do it because it's the best option or one of the best options or whatever.
Mhm.
And that's what happens when like things are too good, right? Like
Mhm.
you try and make them go everywhere. And I don't know. One of the things that Wyatt was talking about as well too is like you still have to maintain the integrity of the leveling experience as well too. So some person who's brand new to the game or not used to getting into all legendary gear or whatever have you, maybe he goes and plays for a little bit and now he's using a Wave of Light, which you baked all this crazy damage percentage into. He's just one-shotting things. He doesn't yet understand how to play the game because he hasn't had to have like a prolonged fight or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just going through and like, oh, it's just this skill just one shots everything from 1 to 70. It's like, what's the point? This is even hard.
Yep.
Ugh.
And it's a difficult thing to wrap your head around when that's one of the reasons because obviously many of the people who are interested in this issue are the people at endgame.
Mhm.
So they kind of see 1 through 70 as just like, a stone that's in the pond that kind of makes a little ripple. But there are these ripple effects like why it calls out that you just potentially don't see the damage until it's almost too late that you've gone that route.
Mhm.
So even if this isn't the best way to potentially buff up certain skills or whatever, it's probably the lesser of some two or three or four evils that have been considered.
Yeah. I know I've had similar rants to this about like elemental damage on items and how it might prop up, certain runes more so than others. But I've noticed this one thing that they've started doing since this patch as well is that now instead of just doing like say like a damage buff like a Suwong Diviner, it it of course is a damage bonus to Acid Cloud, but also gives you a rune effect.
Mm-hmm.
So like one of the most popular rune effects is actually baked into it, and then so, well, okay, now I can choose a different, rune to get kind of like the elemental damage that I want to, kind of mix around with the different, um, affixes or elemental damages and such. So it's like I have the rune with the skill that I want or like the effect that I want, and then I can now pick another one for the damage type that I want. I still would like to see a little bit more choice of how we can actually like choose the elemental damage of our skills or and such. So that
Hmm.
way we're kind of like not locked into it. Because with Bane of the Trapped and Ice Blink, there still is always going to be some sort of preference towards like cold skills. If you don't have an innate way of slowing enemies through a talent or some other ability, you kind of rely on that combo as just for like the obscene amount of damage that it does. But there's a lot of new paths and opportunities that have opened up with them going through and adding in these items that add runes in addition to just base damage.
Yeah, those are more interesting changes because anything that's like times three, times four, times five more damage is obviously good in terms of feeling like something a player would want to use. But I think that kind of the changes that you're talking about are more of the like puzzling changes, right? And not puzzling in a I don't know why they did this kind of way, but more like now you need to put the pieces together to figure out exactly what the best thing will be because at
Hmm.
some point someone's going to figure out what the second best rune is too, right? And then that's probably what sees the most use.
Hmm.
But again, there are going to be those niche circumstances where okay, now I'm just speed running, so I use my Suwong, but then I also use like this rune that just makes the radius bigger on my acid cloud or something.
Hmm.
Um, so there's I think it does something to the game where it doesn't feel like it's just pure damage output, but it kind of presents you it gives you more of that illusion of choice because at least to some degree you're not feeling pigeonholed into just picking that one that you know is by far the best.
Hmm.
They just give it to you for free.
Yeah, which I guess it's one way of dealing with the conundrum of trying to balance everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. With that, I guess that kind of wraps up. Even though we haven't had an episode in so long, there just hasn't been too much besides just kind of like them throwing some changes onto the PTR and such. No other too big announcements. I know there are some things that you can like go and check out on Diablo.blizzpro.com
Hmm.
that they recently went through and posted some updates, like the patch preview for the Grey Hollow Isle that you can go and check out. It gives some background on the island, some of the things that they've done, like concept art, and as well as just the conception of the island itself, like what it's based on, and like kind of where they drew inspiration for going and creating and designing the aesthetics for the island. It's a really nice post, gives you some background, at least from the developer side of it, that you can go through and check out.
Yeah,
But with
I was just gonna say I read that yesterday, and I want to also give some props to I believe it was Nevelistus that wrote it,
hmm
or maybe it was Kauza, and now I actually want to check so I don't credit incorrectly. But it
It was Nev.
good, okay, because it makes sense to me because it was written incredibly well. Like there were a lot of really awesome descriptive like similes and metaphors and adjectives and things. So like if you're a fan of good writing, good descriptive writing, I would highly suggest checking that out as well too because it really it brought the even though you can go in the PTR and see it, right? It kind of like brought the idea of the places to life even more so in your head to give you the moving pictures, if you will.
hmm And it also goes into like the inspiration for it. What Monstrous was saying. Well, what was it? The episode like right after BlizzCon, how he had a talk with one of the technical artists. I forget which one that he had talked with.
I
I
think it
don't
was
know.
Neil.
If it was Neil, he was one of the ones that actually helped like really conceptualize this. And his personal experiences in the Pacific Northwest, specifically kind of like an area that's called the Graveyard of the Pacific because it has it's known for a vast number of shipwrecks and such. And
Hmm.
so it was just like going through and full circle coming in with all the info there.
Definitely.
hmm I guess this will go through and push us into our community feedback section.
The community feedback
Transition.
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 That always reminds me of. I think someone had said it when we first did it or when you first introduced it, but that always reminds me of what is it? Something hot tin roof. What's that play called? Cat on the roof tin. Something about tin. In any case, but there's a song that's called like Tradition,
Uh
and it
huh.
sounds like that, but transition. I just butchered it. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yep. And so, well, now you have me on a theater reference that I don't get. There you go.
Boom. Nailed it, sort of.
The circle is now complete.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Well, it looks like I'm actually slated for this first community feedback email, so I'll hop right in here. This one's coming to us from our good friend Julian. And this is something that I was alluding to earlier when I mentioned that we had a couple of emails on this issue. It's the stash space delivery for 2.4 and the fact that it's coming at what some people feel like is a little bit too late in the seasonal journey. So Julian kind of goes on and introduces himself, saying that he's been listening to the podcast for about 6 months, really enjoys downloading it and listening while at work. He's played Diablo 1 in early teens, Diablo 2 in the late teens, and now Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls as an adult. He says he's a casual player, but not by choice, due to his work schedule, family commitments. He can only do about 2 hours, 2 to 3 times per week. So you guys are kind of understanding the timetable that we're working with. And he says that he only gets his short hours, but he is religious to Diablo and Blizzard. It's the only game that he plays when he has time.
I feel
Right
you
now,
there.
yeah, this is right in your wheelhouse right now. He's at Paragon 528 with a monk and a demon hunter, and his stash is full of stuff for either builds currently or future builds that he wants to try out. And his current goal is to reach Paragon 800 the next couple, and by next couple I mean 12 months. So in the next year or so, he would like to get Paragon 800. And then with 2.4, he's stoked about a couple of things, and then he got kind of sad about a couple of things. So the stash space, he says it feels like a huge kick in the guts when Blizzard is telling him that he has to play at least 10 hours per week just to get his stash space. Otherwise, he's not a worthwhile customer. He understands that they drop the seasonal legendary items, and so that makes it so that the stash space is the new incentive or dangling carrot, if you will, to play seasons. He says that he really feels like it unfairly singles out casual players who don't have the time to play seasons as well as non-season. He said he would rather honestly just pay for it, even $50 for all 5 extra tabs. But no worries, it's virtually impossible for him to play each season to the level that they are talking about. So he has an idea as to how you would potentially just remove the stash space from the whole thing at all, just make it something that you can get season after season, and then instead put something in its place called the Gift of the Ancients, which would be a legendary consumable. And what this would do is that you would apply it to a set or a legendary item, and it instantly upgrades that item to an ancient status. And it could even be ancient already, so it would essentially serve as a reroll for an ancient piece. And if it wasn't ancient, it would upgrade it to ancient.
Hmm.
He says that the incentive to play seasons would be that they don't drop in non-season, but you can transfer them from your seasonal to non-seasonal stash, and then you'd be able to use them in non-season with the rollover. He says you should tie them to making it obtainable through seasonal achievements, similar to how you get some of these things currently with the seasonal journey. And then that would provide players a reason to reach certain points of the season and give them a boost when they need it. He thinks that'd be a little bit fairer for casual players and non-seasonal players, and then also eliminate the whole stash space issue. So what do we think?
Well, I mean, that's one interesting take going on it. I definitely can feel on the whole part about maybe it's like if you're not interested in playing seasons or if you are more casual and aren't able to dedicate that much time to the game. Um, I don't know. It is one of those ones, I guess Conquer for a casual player is pretty high up there. I think it's too late for this season, but it's it's only one stash space. You still
Mm-hmm.
would have to go through and play season, 6, 7, and 8 in order to get all the rest of them. And if you're going to be just one season behind as far as the stash space goes, if they collect a lot of feedback and see that not a lot of people were able to complete it, and they might, go back through and drop it down to like Slayer or Champion, for like season 6. Who knows?
I think you bring up a good point too, because this is probably the best season to use as a test season since you're already getting a brand new stash tab without any ties to the whole seasonal journey thing or whatever, right? Like when as soon as the patch goes live, we get to drop our 500k gold and we get that sixth slot.
Hmm.
And so at least that you're feeling like you're going to get something, right? So let's say that Conqueror is aiming too high for a majority of the population or whatever, then at least those who can play any remote amount will certainly be able to scrounge up 500k gold and they'll have a stash tab. They just might not get that second one that would be tied to that same patch. And then when they make the adjustment, like you're saying, you're only one behind or so, but at least you've gotten one out of the deal to begin with.
Hmm. Yeah, that's very true. So that might be one of those ones. I don't know if you kind of want how much you might want to go through and dive into it. Like we were mentioning, it does seem that it's going to be easier to get to Conquer, this time around. So it's not going to be, as much of a challenge as it was this season. I don't know if you're if because I guess this is one of those arguments. If you're both a casual player and don't play seasons at all, then it is going to be kind of a time investment. But who knows? Maybe it'll get you interested in playing seasons. I play seasons just for the fun of having the fresh start and the start over and such. So it's I don't know. It can get people maybe getting people outside of their box isn't always a bad thing.
Yeah. Thinking about his replacement idea, just to give that a little bit of airtime as well too.
Hmm.
Um, I don't like it, and I only say that because it kind of undercuts the some of the recipes that exist in Kanai's cube, and so it would make it so that your resources wouldn't be as valuable as they are because something like converting a rare to a legendary is really useful, especially early season because you just want legendaries. But also there's that potential to make them ancient too. So you'd be pushing a lot more of those mats into there, like especially for your weapons, like your fist weapons or your flails or your bows or whatever. Those ones that are going to be game changing and are very important because they're your weapons. Being able to guarantee them to be ancient with this like one Ramalani's kind of gift sort of thing.
Hmm.
I don't know. It feels like it would cheapen the experience of keeping that roll coming through the Kanai's cube and finally like getting that landing on the weapon that you want and getting it ancient through there too. It just feels so good right now.
Yep. And that's one of those that I guess they're trying to step away from having they're trying to step away from kind of like that item based incentives to playing in seasons. They want seasons to be more about wanting to go through and complete the journey, or
Hmm.
if just having that way of having the fresh start, when playing in a season, as opposed to like the that's why they're removing the seasonal items, But well, I don't know. It'd be difficult to say. Like if they did do something that removed the stash tabs from season reward, and you only had like that cosmetic rewards for the portraits going into it. Well, I don't know. It's I guess it would be one of those. It's like you'd have to see how that also combines with like Legacy of Nightmares, with just being able to get ancient items or having like free upgrades for ancient items, so easily. Even if you get a couple throughout the season, that's 300% extra bonus damage with Legacy of Nightmare. That's three slots that you didn't have to worry about rolling, ancient for, that you can get upgraded for your LON set.
Very true.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, moving on, our next email here comes from Landshark, who's actually, she's with us here tonight in chat. Hello,
Hello.
say hi. She wanted to go through and give some feedback, like what we had asked last time about the kind of like the differences between the PS4 version and the PC. The Some of the pros that she noticed is that the game handles brilliantly on the console because the controls are really fluid, and it is kind of like leads to a faster pace, makes the combat itself like feel really smooth, having that action combat system and seeing like the timer for like your kill streaks and such. It's pretty much it's the same Diablo that she fell in love with, but now on a huge TV. Um, so that way it's like awesome. Uh, and then of course she mentioned the apprentice mode, so that way you can go and kind of like level up or level down, whoever that you're playing with, so that way they have an easier time. So someone that's coming in at level 1 can still go and play with somebody at level 70, and you don't have to like tone the game down, to them. They get to play with you at level 70 and kind of have all their stats boosted up with it. The cons, of course, is like having to go through and restart story mode, and couch co-op can get really slow when both of you have to access the menu for something, because only one person can have the menu open at a time. And so when you need to go through and check something or re-equip an item or change a skill, both players have to stop. and then the other player then has to then go and take their time to go and swap out. Also, even though the controls really fluid, the lack of precision, because a lot of things like leap, dashing, strike, um, they auto target, because you're when you're controlling the player, you don't have like a targeting reticle. You just move in the direction that you're pointing, the control stick, and so it just kind of targets like the closest thing to you, or kind of is set to cast at a set distance from your character, and that you know kind of limits your the control that you have of what it is that you're doing, which you'll notice, as opposed to the PC where everything, it's precise. You're controlling exactly where you're going, what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're targeting. So the PC makes for more of a, as she puts it, a lowercase h hardcore experience. Although the console itself is just fun for picking up and playing for a few hours. So it definitely has not replaced the PC version of the game, for her and Cyros, but it definitely recommends it even for someone that's played the PC a lot. Go ahead, jump into it.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I vibe with that.
Hmm.
That's how I feel about it. It was a nice change, especially back when it first came out, just because the state of the game was what it was, and then the console was like this shining beacon of loot from the sky, and
Hmm.
I don't think I've actually ever played with anyone else on it, so I'd be curious to do the couch co-op thing and see. Maybe I can coerce some of my friends to come over and try it as well too. But yeah, some of the cons there definitely sound like they're a bit rough.
Yeah, or come on down to Florida. We can go, get them
Uh
up on the big
huh.
train.
There it is, dude.
Yeah, there it
Dude,
is.
oh, you know what you should do? Hopefully, no one here at your work is watching, but put that junk on a projector at work. Oh my god.
Yeah, I should totally do that because I haven't done that yet.
Hmm. Are you winking right now? Because I feel like I'm winking.
Not winking, I'm just giving the shifty eyes. Yeah,
Awesome.
it is beautiful. It's just like big screen TV, 70 inches? How about 70 feet?
Jesus. Uh,
Uh,
perks of the job, right? That's
the
what you signed up
perks.
for.
Total perks. That that and being able to be awakened a few days early, if you get my drift. Just saying. Just
I
saying.
see what you did.
Yep.
Give him a little poke.
Yep.
Oh man. All right, before anyone gets too jealous, we'll keep rolling with the community feedback. You can also feel free to tell Nineball how much you hate him, that he saw Star Wars before you did, in future emails. But this one here comes in from Peter, and Peter wants to say, Nineball, Leviathan, hello! Looking for access to the Blizz Pro clan, and he sent a request to Battle.net, which I believe we actually have accepted, so welcome to the clan. He just wanted to know. Sorry, go ahead.
And I just wanted to go through and say, that his battle tag is Hudson Hawk. Awesome. I'm
Does
done.
that does that
Uh,
mean something?
yes, that does mean something. You can continue though.
All right. Well, he says he's new to the PC Diablo, and now you can see the reason why I pieced these two together. He's been playing couch co-op for the last year on his Xbox One. What? That's crazy. That follows after an email that was just about console. In any case, since seasons aren't coming to the console anytime soon, I broke down and bought the PC version. So far, so good. Thanks for the weekly podcast. I've been a regular listener and hope to be talking to you soon.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing you.
Oh, man. But yeah, I guess that is one of the rubs that's still there, that non-seasonal. And actually, Wyatt was doing a ludum dare, which is how you should pronounce it in Latin, but whatever. But one of those game jams that they do every few quarters, it seems now, or weeks, or I don't know, every few months or so. And one of the things that came up while I was in there, because usually, it's supposed to be a space to just talk about game creation and not Diablo type stuff. But one of the questions I think I saw maybe twice was just about console and A, how do you prevent all the hacking and the cheating? And then B, will we ever see seasons in consoles? And so it seems like it's still one of those things where people really want it, but how do you provide a safe atmosphere for it? I remember one of the things that we have talked about in a previous episode was the idea that The developers are realizing one of the nice things about seasons is just the fresh start. It's just the seasonal journey type of thing that they are starting to really push now with an actual seasonal journey. And so
Hmm.
maybe they would roll seasons to console just for that, knowing full well that the leaderboards and the greater rifts and all that might not be as legit as they should be. But at
Yeah.
least the players who want the fresh start can get it.
Yeah, I would actually see them if they do bring seasons to consoles that it would not have leaderboards at all.
Mm.
Yeah,
It's not a bad idea.
yeah,
Yeah,
it would just get rid of the leaderboards. You'd have conquests, but it wouldn't have any ranks. It wouldn't have any ranks for it or anything like that. You would just have the conquest for you to go and complete, but otherwise it would just be about the seasonal journey and that's it.
yeah. No,
Hmm.
it's that'd be the way to do it, right?
Yeah. Ah, let's see. Our next one. This one comes in from Uluru. Wanting to go through, and this is another one that he wanted to go through and say thank you for accepting my request to join the clan. Welcome to the family, even though, of course, we already considered you part of it just by being a listener to the show.
That's
But
right.
but now you get to see, you get to see us make really bad jokes in green text, in clan chat. Uh, it's he was but he wanted to just go through. It's like yesterday he was playing. I guess yep. Oh, this actually was yesterday. He was
Legitimately.
legitimately yesterday. Was playing with someone who had never went to the vault and explained how to like milk greed, just to, like kind of like that slow burn and get a bunch of goblins, so you can try and get more items out of it. And just it's like one of those ones that it's like it. Um, changing it's how like this whole thing of being in a clan and such is like kind of changing the experience from being a mainly solo player to like more fun and wanting to like go through and just like help out people and showing people things that they might not have known that you would kind of like take for granted how much it is that you knew. And then also second thing, he wanted to wish a happy holidays and that hopes that Santa Tyrael Claus brings you plenty of ancient items this season. We will definitely wish you back a happy Merry Christmas Hana Kwanzaa to you. Um, and then finally, he just had some thoughts on the Paragon points and kind of like the behavior you might see from people and such, and just how his main was playing a like a non-seasonal wizard, but then created a heal monk with XP gear just to check out what that was all about, and he kind of realized that he could gain experience like 10 times the amount faster than he was like going and playing on the wizard and go through and get in groups and all this such, and he was getting a level, like a little over every two Greater Rift 60s that he was doing. And that even though the XP system itself is getting addressed in 2.4, it just was like um, he's only going to be left at Paragon level 785, and how this is considered low, and for especially for non-seasonal characters. And that at the moment, like if he's trying to run in public games, he gets kicked out. No one takes him seriously because oh, you're only Paragon level 785. Vote kick, despite the fact that his heal monk is more than capable of sustaining the party, at the greater rift that they're trying to run. And so it's like if it's like one of those just like what am I left with at this point? To just play seasons, but if he doesn't have the time to start from scratch, doesn't have as much time to dedicate to the game as we were talking about with some other players earlier. Um, well, playing clan only, not much opposed to that one. You're going through and playing in the clan, but maybe if you play odd hours like I do, you don't always have that opportunity there for you, or just playing solo and forget about competing on the leaderboards because like if you're below like 1200 Paragon level, then what's the point of even trying to compete? I'm going to be so far behind anyone else. It's like just wanting to reiterate, I guess, and re-ask Blizzard that should there be a cap to Paragon levels, as far as to level out the competition and such.
It's a weird spot to be at, man, I tell you, because the importance of Paragon can't be understated. Like it's very important to have a high Paragon, but using it to limit party members seems kind of ridiculous. I guess when if the game's at a popular enough place where like there are so many people who want to get into parties to really run like efficient high level GRs, then you would be remiss to not like make some filters, I guess, because you want to get the best players there to keep like your efficiency at that utmost highest potential. But I really don't think it matters that much in terms of like if his monk can do the work, why not include him? Like it doesn't matter, especially for a healing monk. Like why would your Paragon matter at that
Hmm.
point? Like it doesn't. It really doesn't. So I don't know. It's a little peculiar and it's a problem that it's an issue, but I don't see it as one that's going away. Like people are going to use it as a measuring stick until it doesn't matter. I feel like it'll
Hmm.
always matter.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. It's kind of like it's the new it's this like the Diablo equivalent of item level in World of Warcraft. You know, it's just something that people can use with which to try and somehow measure the worth of your character and your ability to play. You know, they're not willing to actually like go through and play like a single rift, to see if you're worth it or can step up. You know, it's just like, oh, nope. I'd rather sit here for 15 minutes just kicking people as opposed to attempting a rift and seeing if one of them can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it does. On the flip side, one of the things to mention is that it kind of does show you the importance of having a good clan, though, because if you're in a good clan, you shouldn't be seeing that behavior. Like there should be more than open arms to welcome people into games, just to get people going. Because if you think about it, if you're in a clan and it's a good clan, you're liable to stay in that clan. And so by you developing another player, maybe they're not as high a paragon as you are, maybe they're not as good gear as you are, but if you help them develop just by either being in your party to get more experience or by feeding them some gear if you're on the same class or whatever, that should pay itself forward going into later in that season because maybe that person plays longer now. Maybe they become a party partner for you, and now when you're both on, you always group up. And so that's just that stability. That's something you can rely on, which the hardest thing to do late season, when people start losing interest in the game, is to keep that consistent party together to keep grinding and whatnot.
Yeah, maybe they were just late to the party. You know, maybe they were on vacation for like the first week or two, and so they were a little bit behind.
You know? There's so many different ways to get to that, particular Paragon level. Doesn't necessarily say anything about the player's skill.
Hmm. Yeah, it really is one of those ones where it's just, you know, I you'll always see it. You know, it's like people just aren't willing to give somebody a chance. You know, to actually see their tests. They want some sort of metric that says like how good you are or whatever. Hopefully, maybe like one of those things that you can kind of like go through and do. Yeah, sure, I'm like 500 Paragon levels behind you, but check out my wings, bitches. You
Yeah,
know, it's like you got these. No, I didn't think so. Let's roll. You know.
that'll be the new thing now, right? Like, boom,
Yeah.
set mastery wings on. Shut up
Yep.
and play.
Yep. Pretty much. Shut up and get behind me. Uh.
We'll see. It's a
Yeah.
dawn of a new era, literally,
The dawning
uh,
of the age. Never mind.
of Aquarius.
Yes.
All right, next email comes in from a longtime fan and listener, Dark Lighter. He's also a clan member. Says, "Sup, fellas? Longtime listener and clan member, first time caller. I haven't been a huge fan of participating in PTRs, but Legacy of Nightmares set really grabbed my attention. He's perplexed by the verbiage. While this is your only set item bonus, wow, I read that backwards. While this is your only item set bonus, your damage dealt is increased by 100%, damage taken is reduced by 4% for every ancient item you have equipped. Does this mean that your damage is increased by 100% per ancient item equipped, or just increased 100% while this is your only item set bonus equipped?" And of course, the answer is that it's per piece. So pretty tasty bonus there if you get all 13 or 12, however many ancient pieces all or sorry, however many item pieces all anciented out, you're getting 100% per. So you are very much incentivized to have an all ancient set in quotes. Sorry, because it's not a set. Uh, when you're using the Legacy of Nightmares set, and that way it'll boost up your damage and also, like you mentioned, your damage reduction. So yeah, it's good stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is that we haven't seen that number make any adjustments since it dropped from 800 to 100. So I wonder if they're happy with it sitting where it's sitting. I know there was a Crusader build with that was just using pure bombardment. That was a little ridiculous, and so
Mhm.
instead of changing Legacy of Nightmares, they just changed a lot of the bombardment stuff, so that it didn't perform quite as well.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess at this point in time, since I haven't made any changes, I don't expect it to be making too many changes past that.
Mm,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe they'll like where it is, and they'll. It's This is one of those items that is just like it's so hard to just, even with like 2 months of feedback, to like really try to adjust or get this to where they want it to be. I would imagine maybe we won't see too many more changes right now, but expect maybe some retweaks when they revisit it, say like in 2.5.
That sounds like a safe bet. Yeah,
Yeah,
I could see that for sure.
you get some reevaluation on it, because at that point they'll have more feedback on it. Because that was one thing that we took from BlizzCon. Wyatt going and mentioning that um, one of the whole achieve get to greater Rift 40 with no class sets was supposed to be no sets period, because it was supposed to attempt to try and get data and information on what's viable, what works, and how far people could push without sets. But then, of course, they allowed like focus and restraint and things like that, so it kind of negated all of it. So this is kind of like they're gonna it was still, I guess they still wanted it to go through and release and have something to like go through and do in 2.4, but now I guess it's like one of those, 2.4 is going to be like the test patch for Legacy of Nightmares, and we'll see more tweaks go into it in season 6.
Yeah, totally with you.
hmm we have two emails of similar relevance here. We've got one from uh, Little Luck that is uh, it's another email. I think I've been sent this at least like 100 times in the past couple of weeks about that fan theory that Jar Jar is a Sith Lord. I don't know why this is relevant to Diablo, but
No
I
one
guess
knows.
it's my lot in life to constantly be haunted by the ghost of this horrendous character. Um, and of course, then this ties into the other email that we got from Realist Style, specifically saying that Jar Jar will not be in Star Wars: The Force Awakens, as confirmed by Kathleen Kennedy, one of the producers and kind of like one of the higher ups in charge of the Star Wars franchise. That he would not be in the movie, and spoilers, I can confirm he's not in the movie.
Whoa, spoilers.
Spoilers, yeah. Um, I hope I didn't ruin it for you.
Well, I'm not gonna go see it now. Forget
Okay,
that.
all right. Uh, there you go. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I hope that this finally kind of like puts the tombstone on the grave of this fan theory about Jar Jar being a Sith Lord, and we can never have to worry about it ever again. Yes, there you go.
There it is. Laid to rest.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Jar Jar. Don't worry, there'll be more Jar Jar, I'm sure.
Oh God, I hope not. Please no.
Episode 10, baby. I'm looking forward to it.
No. No.
All right. Well, we have it looks like one more email here from the community. This one is actually Diablo related, so don't worry, we're back on track, Nine Ball.
Okay. All right. I like it.
It's coming in for our friend Chris from Europe, whose item when we had our show last, we butchered the crap out of because it was in German, I believe.
hmm
And we did our best to kind of pronounce some of the affixes, and man, we
did we
apparently did a really
did
bad job.
we? Yeah, we did a pretty bad job.
So he says, "Hey folks, I've listened to your 74th episode. Again, great as ever." So he actually got a compliment. Thanks for your work. He said, "Even if I liked Leviathan's foreign language skill presentation, which in parts are surely my fault, I managed. He actually went out of his way to install the game client in English just to get screenshot qualities that we could use and actually read it. So He got it to us in a proper way, he says. But you know, if you want to use your native language, we will be more than happy to butcher any sort of item that you want to show and showcase for the items of the week segment.
Do you want to hear two lazy Americans go through and butcher your native language? Well, look no further. Submit your items into the show, and we'll take our best attempt at not pronouncing the names and words from your language correctly.
Boy, do we have the podcast for you.
Uh-huh. Look no further.
Oh man. And so he did submit a couple of items here, and I'm sure that Nineball picked at least one of them to showcase in our next section.
I did, in fact.
Aha!
This is a factual statement that he is saying there.
Well, there we are.
Which then, of course, brings us to another transition.
Transition.
Transition to our items of the week. I don't.
Week.
Yep. Maybe we should get someone to actually like record like a professional bumper or something for the different sections of the show.
I mean, we haven't gotten complaints yet.
This is true. No one has complained about it. Maybe they just stopped listening. I don't know.
That could be true.
I am 100% willing to believe this. But anyways, getting right into it, our first kind of like combo item of the week we have sent in to us by longtime listener Korova. Thanks for going through and sending in some more beautiful items. It has to go through and show off, which I'm sure is to make monks around the world jealous. The first of these two that he sent in is a Shinlong's Fist of Legend, clocking in at 2,792 DPS with 838 dexterity, 23,000 life on hit. The secondary stats of 13 maximum spirit and monster kills grant 254 bonus XP with a socket. It's not been re-rolled, it's not been touched, it's not been upgraded with the Happy Meal or anything along those lines. So it's just straight how it is so far. With the second one that's been sent in is the Fist of Aztarask. That this one also clocks in at 2700 DPS, 2,764 DPS to be exact. With 960 dexterity, increases spirit regen by 2.67 per second, and the secondary bonuses of 15 maximum spirit and exploding palms on death explosion damage is increased by 92%. And now this one has been re-rolled for a socket, but doesn't have a Happy Meal thrown on there just yet.
Ramalama ding dong. Both great items. Obviously, both very different builds, but man, you got your world of choices there.
Mm-hmm. Our second item sent in here from John is a Ancient Convention of the Elements. That's got 626 intelligence. It's been re-rolled for critical hit damage increased by 45%, 6% critical hit chance, a reduced duration of control impairing effects by 29%, and a maxed out 200% bonus damage for the rotating elements, and of course with a socket.
Not too bad at all.
Very, very beautiful.
Mm.
And you always kind of want to have at least like one item that has that secondary bonus of the reduced control, that control the CC effects on you.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a build, if you're not using a build that locks you into like one of the mega transformations, like the Wrath of Berserker or because usually you get the immunity with
Yeah,
those.
which
But yeah.
is one thing that I'm actually like really stoked about with playing a Demon Hunter in the next patch. That there's so many
Oh,
builds now that can get permanent vengeance, and so don't have to worry about that CC.
that's right.
And actually, it's I know we've been gone for a couple weeks here, and so we don't have too many emails that kind of filtered in. But this one is an ancient star of Azkaranth. This one increases cold skill damage by 16%, 942 dexterity, critical hit damage increased by 65%, reduces the cooldown of all skills by 6%, with the secondary bonuses of 4,300 thorns damage, and it prevents all fire damage and heals yourself for 15% of the amount prevented. It has not been touched, no rerolls just yet.
Obviously not the best of items, but it is worth at least mentioning that I believe this is still the rarest item in the game, right?
Is it?
I mean, I don't know now with so many things entering the pool, but at least at one point, this amulet was the hardest item to get.
Uh, I thought at one point it was the Istvan's daggers was one of the rarest items,
Mm.
like the little rogue and such. But I think that was just because that it wasn't on smart loot for any classes, and they fixed that in like 2.2 or 2.1, something
Ah,
like that.
maybe that's it. Yeah. What would be nice, honestly, is an updated like infographic of cool tidbits like that.
Hmm. I guess technically it's all right there because the drop numbers are all in the data files. It just has to be redata mined. In
Hmm.
fact, actually, I think I had to go and look for it, but I think that there is a website that constantly does have the up-to-date drop information for different items.
Oh, well.
As they use that for, what's the most efficient way in order to find an item, the cube or through blood shards?
Right, right, right. That makes sense.
Because you have, like some of the rarer ones like a furnace that it's just so rare trying to compete with like 200 the other two-handed weapons and blood shards is just insane. Even though it takes a very large number of uh, cube attempts on it, that it is much faster to try and get through the cube than it is through blood shards, and you're better off spending your blood shards for something else.
Yeah. I mean, that makes mathematical sense just because of the cost.
Hmm. Yeah, and I guess that kind of brings us to an end, unless there's anything else that you'd like to tack on here before we start getting into the outro.
No, I don't know, man. It kind of just feels, it is what it is. It's the name of the show. It's December Diablo. We're kind of just, 1 year ago, I felt very similarly. We're past the BlizzCon hype. We're into a long season, and we're kind of just waiting, waiting for everything to shift and go on to the next big thing. So I really have nothing else significant to add besides I'm waiting for the dawn of the new age of the Crusader returning to the top again.
Hmm. And yeah, so I guess with that, we'll kick it into the outro. As far as our iTunes reviews, we have a new five-star review from I Heart This App, who actually
Maybe.
had already sent in a review previously, but I guess somehow got a second name in there, or it's some sort of generic username or something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, definitely thank you for going through and finding a way to submit another five-star review there. That puts us up to 40, so thank you very much.
Ooh, the big
We,
four
we, we
zero.
yeah, we greatly appreciate it. Now, also we just need two more for the magic number, and
Haha.
then we will solve the mystery of the universe. Just if only we knew the question. Uh, but going from there, by all means, you can go through if you want to catch more of the show. You of course can go and find us on iTunes and Stitcher, as we were just going and mentioning the reviews there. And we definitely appreciate like any reviews or love that you can go and give us. Whether just want to go through and hit us with a 5 stars or actually leave comments or review is always greatly appreciated. Helps our show expand out to a wider audience. Helps grows our community as the ratings there get higher. And you can always find the show itself live. We try to be here every Wednesday night. We've missed the past couple of weeks, but you can find us live Wednesday nights at twitch.tv/BlizzPro, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And then while you're here, go ahead, click the follow button, and check out some of the other shows that we have to go through and offer. Sunday nights is the Well Met podcast, our Hearthstone-centric podcast. Tuesdays is the Heroes Power Hour, where you can go through and check out, everything that we have to talk about on Heroes of the Storm. Of course, we're here on Wednesdays, and on Thursdays, our new Overwatch show, Payload, where you can go through and see a couple of our esports community members go and talk about their thoughts on Overwatch and the developments going on in the beta there. Um, you can also, if you have any comments or feedback, items of the weeks that you want to send in to us, please, we love hearing from you. You can send them in to Westmarch Workshop at blizzpro.com is our official email address. You can also submit things and go and tweet at us on Twitter. We're at the WM Workshop. You can go through and also find out, a lot of things that we talk about on the show at diablo.blizzpro.com. And you can, find us in game even. We are the BlizzPro clan, where you can always go through and submit an application. We also love to, know a little bit more about you before we go through and accept you into the clan. So we do appreciate it if you send us an email beforehand. Just to go through and so we know who it is that's going and apping. If you're already in a clan, don't want to leave your friends behind or such, you can always join our in-game community, the Westmarch Workshop, in order to go through and just chat with us. We also have a TeamSpeak server, blizzpro.typefrag.com, port 6250. There's no password needed, but we've been kind of using Discord a lot lately, and so we might be switching over to that officially.
Could be the next big thing.
Yeah, definitely. And then, of course, if you want to go and chat with us individually, you can go and find us on Twitter. I'm at 9ballgamer. You can follow Leviathan at shstewart111. And you're also, you stream from time to time, don't you?
I do, I do. I will admit, I have been bad about it in recent times. With just schedules and work and all that stuff. Getting home from work and I'm just like tired. So, we'll definitely, when the season goes live, be so on top of it. So, if you want to get ready for that, then you can follow over on twitch.tv/Leviathan111, and good times will be coming in the future.
Definitely, definitely. And with that, that brings us to the close. We'll definitely make an effort to be back next week, unless are there any plans that you have that might interfere for your recording on the 23rd?
Nope,
Christmas
I
Eve
have
Eve?
the eve of the eve. No, I have work on the 24th, so I'll be up here.
Okay, that sounds good. So we'll definitely go through and try and catch you next week. With that, any last comments, parting, rude, snide remarks, Star Wars spoilers, anything?
Jingle all the way too. Get ready.
Do it now. See my new movie. Jingle all the way too.
I told you I'd be back.
I'll be back for Christmas. And with that, everybody, good night.
Adios.